Some football stories begin with a match. Others begin with a man whose journey says more about the game than any scoreline ever could. Omar Artan was born on the 6th of June 1992 in Mogadishu, Somalia. He grew up in a country that has endured more than its share of hardship, instability, and conflict. But in the middle of that reality, he found his path in football, not as a player, not as a coach, but as a referee, one of the most important and demanding roles in the sport. Referees are the foundation of every match. Their authority, judgment, and composure hold the game together. And for Omar Artan, that role became a life's work. He built his career step by step through Somali football. In 2018, he reached the FIFA International list. In January 2024, he became the first Somali referee in history to officiate at the Africa Cup of Nations. Then he went even further. He refereed the CAF Champions League final. In 2025, he was named the best referee on the African continent. And then came the moment that should have defined his career forever. For the 2026 FIFA World Cup, Artan was selected as one of only 52 referees trusted with officiating matches at the biggest football tournament on earth. It was a historic achievement, the first Somali referee ever chosen for the World Cup. A man from Mogadishu, a man who had worked his way up through one of the most difficult footballing environments in the world. A man who had earned his place at the highest level of the sport. It should have been the triumph of a lifetime. Instead, it became one of the most disturbing stories of the entire tournament. Omar Artan arrived at Miami International Airport on the 6th of June. He had a valid visa, he had his FIFA accreditation, he had the official documentation required to enter the United States and participate in the World Cup. He had done everything right, he had earned his place, and he arrived as a FIFA-selected World Cup referee. But instead of beginning the biggest assignment of his career, he was stopped. He was questioned for 11 hours. According to reports, much of that questioning focused on Al-Shabaab, a militant organization that has no connection to Omar Artan, his career, or his travel to a football tournament. He was then placed in a holding cell. After all of that, he was declared inadmissible due to vetting concerns. No detailed explanation that justified the decision was publicly provided. And just like that, he was put on a plane to Istanbul before eventually returning to Mogadishu. He did not officiate a single match at the 2026 World Cup. Think about that for a moment. A referee selected from the global pool of elite officials, a man trusted by FIFA to handle the biggest matches in world football, a man who had already made history for Somalia more than once. He arrived with the proper paperwork, the proper credentials, and the proper invitation. And yet, he was sent home before the tournament had truly begun for him. This was not a case of someone trying to bypass the system. This was a man who had followed every required step and still lost the greatest opportunity of his professional life. That is what makes the story so powerful. Because this is not only about travel documents, it is about dignity, it is about fairness, and it is about what it means when the world's biggest sport cannot protect one of its own, even after he has done everything required to stand on its biggest stage. Once the story became public, FIFA responded in the careful language institutions often use when they want to acknowledge a situation without fully owning it. The governing body confirmed that Omar Artan would be unable to train and officiate at the tournament after being denied entry to the United States. It also said that host governments control immigration decisions and that FIFA is not responsible for those processes. Technically, that may be true, but in practical terms, it was devastating. FIFA had selected Artan. FIFA had trusted him. FIFA had placed him among the best referees in world football. Yet, when he was denied entry, the institution that had chosen him effectively stepped back and treated the matter as an issue outside its control. There was one meaningful decision. FIFA confirmed that Artan would still receive his full tournament fee, including the same compensation as other World Cup officials. That financial decision mattered. It was, in a quiet way, an acknowledgement that he had lost something he rightfully earned. But money was never the real issue. The bigger problem was structural. This was a World Cup hosted across 3 host nations, the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Yet FIFA centralized its officiating system in one training hub, Miami. All referees and assistant referees had to report there as part of one unified group before receiving assignments anywhere in the tournament. That meant one thing. If a referee could not enter the United States, that referee could not access the training hub. If they could not access the training hub, they could not join the officiating team. And if they could not join the officiating team, they could not referee anywhere in the tournament, not even in Canada or Mexico. That is why this was not just an immigration problem. It was also a tournament design problem. Because in a competition spread across 3 host nations, FIFA built a system that depended completely on one. And when that one point of access failed, the entire idea of flexibility collapsed with it. That choice exposed a gap between football's language and football's structure. The tournament was multinational in branding, but in one critical operational sense, it was not multinational at all. And Omar Artan paid the price for that failure. While FIFA relied on procedure, others responded with principle. In Canada, political leaders moved quickly and spoke clearly. David Eby, the Premier of British Columbia, whose province was hosting World Cup matches in Vancouver, publicly said that Omar Artan would be welcomed and celebrated there for everything he had overcome and everything he had achieved. Then he said something simple and powerful. Let's have him referee in Vancouver. It was not a vague expression of sympathy, it was a direct public invitation. Toronto's Mayor Olivia Chow made her position clear as well. She said that denying entry to Omar Artan, a man who had earned his place through hard work and perseverance, was not right. She said Toronto believes in fairness, inclusion, and opportunity. More importantly, she said he would be welcome to referee there and that she would write to FIFA to make that position official. Ontario opposition leader Merritt Stiles echoed the same message. Artan had earned his place on the world stage, and he should be welcomed. 3 separate Canadian voices, one consistent message. You had the right man. You failed to protect him. We would have treated him differently. And then Europe stepped in. UEFA announced that Omar Artan would referee the 2026 UEFA Super Cup final between Paris Saint-Germain and Aston Villa in Salzburg on August 12th in Salzburg. That decision made him the first African referee ever chosen to lead a major UEFA final. That was not just an appointment, it was a statement. UEFA responded with speed, clarity, and symbolic weight. Where one institution distanced itself from the damage, another offered a stage worthy of the man who had been denied one. The contrast could not have been clearer. FIFA said the system had limits. Canada said he was welcome. UEFA gave him one of the biggest matches in European football. And that contrast is a major reason this story has resonated far beyond one airport, one referee, or even one tournament. When Omar Artan returned to Mogadishu, the story did not end in silence. Thousands of people gathered in a stadium to welcome him home. Somalia's president called him personally. He was draped in his country's flag and celebrated not as a victim, but as a symbol of dignity, perseverance, and achievement. And Artan himself responded with remarkable grace. He said, in essence, that what happened had happened, that it was fate, and that, God willing, he would be at the next World Cup. That may be the most powerful part of this story, because while institutions debated procedure, Omar Artan embodied composure. While football's most powerful body leaned on technicalities, the man at the center of the storm carried himself with dignity. So what does this story really mean? It means football can claim to be global, inclusive, and merit-based, and still fail people when those values are tested in real life. It means selecting someone is not enough if you cannot protect their right to participate. It means that structures matter just as much as statements. And it means that sometimes the clearest moral response comes not from the institution with the most authority, but from those willing to act with conviction. The sequence says everything. The United States denied him entry. FIFA stepped back. Canada welcomed him. UEFA gave him a final. Somalia brought him home as a hero. That is not just a timeline. It is a reflection of modern football itself, its promises, its contradictions, and its failures. And the question now is simple. Will anything change? Will FIFA rethink how referees are prepared at future multi-country tournaments? Will it build systems that protect participation instead of making it dependent on a single checkpoint? Will this become a turning point? Or will it become another story that briefly shocks the football world before disappearing into the machinery of the game? Omar Artan earned his place at the World Cup. That was never in doubt. The real question is whether football's biggest institutions can say the same about themselves.